All right, good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock, Thursday, May 23rd, and welcome to the Commission regular meeting for today. We're going to have, did Pastor Michael Medford make it in this morning? Okay, then I'll do the prayer this morning, and I'll ask that Commissioner Williamson lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance this morning. Also, if y'all please rise. And before I open with prayer, I would like to, along with our prayer this morning, have a kind of a footnote to that. We lost one of our firefighters this past week, William Allen Cree. He was a firefighter, an EMT, 3 years on the force, and William died in a motorcycle accident the other day, and young man was dedicated to our county and serving our citizens. And I'll start, please, if we could. There will be, William will be moved to Jacksonville for interment. We will be announcing at a later date a memorial service for William, and the family asked that rather than any flowers or anything, if donations would just go to the Navarre Fire Department for a memorial. So if you will, we'll start with a moment of silence for William, and I'll follow up with prayer this morning. Gracious Heavenly Father, as we come to you this morning, Lord, we just ask that you remind us that we're simply servants for you, Lord, that we're stewards over that which you've given us, Lord, in this earth and in this community. Lord, we ask that you look over all of our military, all of our emergency responders, especially on the family of this fallen firefighter, Lord. Comfort them. Lord, we just ask you to remind us to be civil with each other, be friends with one another. Lord, and we'll just thank you in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. At this time, I'll move for approval of the minutes of the April 25th, 2013 special meeting, and I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. I also remind everybody, please turn off their communication devices so we don't get interrupted this morning. Now I'll ask Commissioner Williamson if there's any changes to today's agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Salter.
Mr. Chairman, when we get to economic development, I'm going to have a recommended change on my first item, and I'll discuss that when we get to it.
All right. Commissioner Melvin?
No change, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lynchard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to add an update on the hurricane preparedness exercise that was held yesterday as item 6 on public services, please.
Okay, we'll make that addition as number 6 when you get there. Anything additional from staff this morning?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just note that items 13, 14, and 15 were added since Monday. That was your restore consultant. Also, the designation of a temporary speed limit on Navarre Beach because of the black skimmers nesting, and then just scheduling public hearing on street lighting MSPU. So it's pretty straightforward.
All right, they are. We'll add them to today's agenda. All right. This time we do have a couple proclamations. I'll go ahead and take care of them this morning. Of course, we all know that in the next few days we got Memorial Day coming up. Well, first I'll read the proclamation for Memorial Day. Whereas since 1868, Memorial Day has been uniquely an American day of remembrance on which we pay our respects, honor, and the memory of more than 1 million Americans that died in battle and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and our freedoms. And whereas, in keeping with traditions that have preceded us, many of us have friends, family members who have unselfishly given themselves to the future of this great nation and who we honor on this day. And whereas these soldiers were someone's child, someone's spouse, someone's parent, it's important that we remember every day in this great nation that our freedom came at a price. Whereas veterans have bravely served in all parts of the world, not only fighting for our freedoms, but for all of mankind. Whereas Santa Rosa County joins other counties throughout the state of Florida and the United States of America in honoring those who have given their lives and recognizing the sacrifice were noble and heroic, unparalleled in dedication to God, country, and unforgettable. Now therefore be it proclaimed that May 27, 2013 be observed as Memorial Day in Santa Rosa County in remembrance and honor of veterans who have given their lives in service for our country. I have the privilege of signing it this year for the board. Now I'll ask that on Monday, I'll be out of town, and I'll ask County Commissioner Don Salter if he would please take the presentation to Milton, and I'll ask Commissioner Jim Melvin to do the presentation in my place at Navarre. And thank you, gentlemen, for doing that. Any comments from board members this morning?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind everyone, our Memorial Day service will be, as you said, Monday, May the 27th, starting at 11 o'clock a.m. down at the Veterans Memorial in this part of the county.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Melvin.
Thank you. And our memorial service will be held in the Navarre Park on Highway 98, also beginning at 11, and we invite you all to attend. It's a well-attended program by the community in Navarre, and we cordially invite you to join us.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, our next proclamation this morning is for another group that volunteers their time, their talents for service to our community. And I'm proud to say that I was on the board when this program started, and I think today we're one of the strongest ones in the state of Florida, not just in the area, but in the entire state. So in recognition of that, whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of the miracle of human voice broadcast over the airwaves, and whereas amateur radio has continued to provide a bridge between people, society, and counties by creating friendships and sharing of ideas, whereas amateur radio operators have also provided countless hours of uncompensated community service, both in emergencies and to organizations throughout these decades. And whereas the county also recognizes the service of amateur radio people provide to our many emergency response organizations, including Santa Rosa County Emergency Operations Center, Navarre Chamber of Commerce, Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office, fire departments, and whereas these same individuals have further demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing free radio communications for local parades, bike-a-thons, walk-a-thons, fairs, and other charitable public events. And whereas the County of Santa Rosa recognizes and appreciates the diligence of these hams, who also serve as weather spotters in the sun-worn program of the U.S. Government Weather Bureau, whereas amateur radio once again proves its undisputed relevance in the modern world of 2005 by providing emergency communications when other systems failed in the devastation of Hurricane Katrina and Rita in the United States of America and in tsunami catastrophes overseas. And whereas the ARRL is a leading organization for amateur radio in the USA, and the ARRL Amateur Radio Field Day exercise will take place on June 22nd and 23rd, 2013, and is a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of radio amateur skills and readiness to provide self-supporting communications without further infrastructure being required. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Rosa County, do hereby proclaim the week of June 17th through June 23rd, 2013 as Amateur Radio Week, and recognize the importance of emergency preparedness exercises, call on all citizens of Santa Rosa County to pay tribute to the amateur radio operators of Santa Rosa County, signed and approved by the Board of County Commissioners and signed by me on this day. Mr. Green, would you please come forward? If you have any comments, sir, we welcome you to the microphone.
Come down to the beach on June 22nd.
All right, well, we'll let you say that as soon as we get a picture. We'll have to let you go to the mic and say that again.
It looks like it cleans up when it comes to the board, when it goes to the LMS in short.
My wife said I can't wear shorts outside the house. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you.
The glue in shorts is not a pretty sight.
Okay, Hunter, we're gonna meet again.
Sounds like you got a big supporter over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, you're welcome to the podium if you'd like to make some comments. No? Please. If you'd like, just push the red button and
Okay, thank you for this proclamation. We appreciate it. We should know that not only the radio club that we have, which is called KC4ERT, it's just a small segment of our CERT organization, which is the Navarre Community Emergency Response Team. We have over 100 members in the team, and we meet as a team once a month. The board of directors meets once a month, and we get into various aspects of trying to prepare for disasters. And last evening, our major subject of discussion was the Boston Marathon bombing and Oklahoma, and what we will be confronted with if we had to deal with some of the situations that they had to deal with, primarily because we've been lucky since Ivan. That's when we were created. We had not only had to do exercises, we hadn't had to do the real thing. But we're all nervous now because the clock is moving and the time is running out and we're due. So we're going to be very active for the remainder of this summer, getting prepared, because we suspect we're going to be out doing other than supporting the community in various events. And if you have an opportunity on June 22nd, come down to the beach, over the, I forgot the name of the pavilion, but we'll be there, and you can see us operate. And by the way, if any of you officials come and sign our roster, we get extra points in the ARL championship trial, and we will go up the ladder some. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Reiterate what Mr. Green said, the Navarre Park again on Highway 98, and these guys do things that take a little thought. They have organized saw teams, individuals, volunteers with chainsaws, right on through up to the HF radio communications, which, if you don't know what HF is, a slightly used C-130 pilot, it will literally go halfway around the globe with a bounce, with a whip antenna about the size of that pole up to the TV cameras and battery powered. So it's absolutely, there's no way to put a value on it. These are the folks that get, that first reported the monster tsunami. These are the people that check in after the Oklahoma storms. These are the people in Ivan that can give somebody a definitive need, what kind of shape the community's in, what's needed, et cetera. When we lost our home in Ivan, we wondered if we have a piece of rental property in Navarre, and through the good graces of some folks with some radios, we found out that looked like it might still be there. So it's invaluable, and it's the kind of thing you overlook until it's time to need it. So come out and join us. It's a good time. It runs 22nd through 23rd, and it is basically an emergency exercise in itself, in that the guys come, set up, operate all night long, and prove their connectivity with the other clubs and all the way around the world. So come join us if you will. It's a good time.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Melvin. I'd already kind of been preconditioned to this. I served on the canvassing board just last week with Judge Hilliard, and Judge Hilliard has became a ham radio operator, and he's pretty excited about this and look forward to it. So, all right, we'll move on now to, we have a presentation this morning. It's called Viva Florida 500. We've got Gwen Wilson, our library director, and Devan Cook here, our from Human Resource Department.
I had asked Ms. Wilson to make this presentation. She had made this presentation, I believe, is at last week's Library Advisory Board. Commissioner Melvin had asked earlier, maybe a month or so ago, about how the county was participating in the Viva Florida 500, and primarily that's been an exercise, not an exercise, a series of events that's been coordinated by the state Department of State, which includes the libraries, and Ms., I thought it was a good opportunity for Ms. Wilson to kind of show the board how we're participating, and each of your libraries are participating.
Good morning, Gwen. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you very much. I have some slides. Okay, Viva Florida 500. I know that you know what it is, but I wanted to just do a brief recap. It is a statewide initiative led by the Florida Department of State to highlight the 500th anniversary of Juan Ponce de Leon's arrival on Florida's East Coast, naming the state La Florida, or Florida. County libraries were asked to plan programs to celebrate Florida's rich history, and the Department of State has provided time capsules to every library in the state for use in planning a commemorative event. And I'd like to share with you the programs that the libraries are currently involved in, either planning or have already had. Our first program was held at the Milton Library on Tuesday, April 23rd, and it was Florida's Rich Diversity, an overview of Florida's ecosystems and animals, and that program was presented by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. It was a wonderful program. We actually had 72 attendees to that program, and they did a great job. They brought in reptiles and lizards and turtles, you name it, and families were able to ask questions and get some questions answered, and they also allowed the kids to come up and handle the animals. It was fun. The second event will be held this coming Saturday on May 25th from 10 to 11:30 at the Pace Library, and it's a Florida-friendly vegetable gardening. And the Santa Rosa County Master Gardeners will be presenting that program for us. It will be held on the back lawn at the Pace Library. We're asking residents and attendees to bring lawn chairs or blankets. There will be refreshments provided by the Friends of the Pace Library. The next event will be held in June. It's Dig into Agriculture. We're going to take that one and combine it with our summer reading kickoff. Our summer reading program theme this year is Dig into Reading. It will be held from 1 to 4 p.m. at the J Library. And we've been collaborating with the Florida Department of Agriculture, Trent Matthews there. We will have a soil presentation, including a soil tunnel for the little ones to enjoy, a seed planting activity. Tuffy, the real American quarter horse hero, will be there with its owner, Kyle Holly. There will be a presentation by the Florida Young Farmers and Ranchers. There will be hot dogs, peanuts, just a lot of activities for our communities to enjoy. It will begin at 1 o'clock. That will allow people from the other end of the county to be able to make it in time to enjoy that event. And we will also have a setup available so that people can register for summer reading at the same time. The next event, Artists and Authors, will be held at the Navarre Library, and it will be a 2-day event, Friday, August 16th from 12 to 4 p.m., and then Saturday, August 17th from 10 to 12. This event will feature local artists and authors bringing in exhibits, their books, having talks. There will be refreshments provided by the Friends of the Navarre Library. There will be a local musician, another fun event. And then the final event will be Unearthing Florida. It will be held on Tuesday, September 3rd from 6 to 7:30 at the Gulf Breeze Library. And that event will be presented by Mike Tomlin of the Florida Public Archaeology Network of Northwest Florida. His presentation will include information about local archaeological projects and other finds in Florida. The next slide, please. The second part of what the state has asked is for us to do an event using a time capsule that they sent to the libraries. And this is the way that we came up so that the community, the residents, could have some involvement in what we actually end up placing inside the time capsules. So in March and April, residents were encouraged to suggest items for placement in the capsule by submitting a suggestion to their local library. Each library has a Viva Florida display, and it has a model of the time capsule so that people could gauge the size of the items that they needed to suggest. And then in May and June, residents are voting currently on the top 3 suggestions received at their local library. And on July 3rd, the top vote getter from each library will be revealed to everyone. And then on September 19th, this will be our culminating event for the year. A reception will be held at the J Museum. The item from each library that received the most votes will be placed in the time capsule, and then the time capsule will be sealed and turned over to the J Historical Society for placement in the J Museum for the next 50 years. Thank you.
Gwen, thank you very much. Appreciate that. It seems like a great way to, remember what's happening today, 50 years from now, and recognize, the history of the diverse history of our state. It's great. We appreciate everything you do at the library and running our libraries for us. So.
I want to comment is Ms. Wilson's done a great job. It's when we had the Library Advisory Board. I mean, the Friends of the Libraries have really, in each of the libraries, have become very energized, are very much involved, very supportive. They've very much taken on the libraries and helped. It's really when you go in each of the libraries, how different they are, how differently they're set up, and in along the communities. And I just think that this just is one of the programs that really highlights that. We appreciate Ms. Wilson what she's done.
Our libraries have certainly come a long way since we diversified and took them on ourselves instead of letting our neighbor county run our libraries for us. We appreciate that. All right, thanks very much for coming out today. All right, at 9:30, we have a public hearing. We'll come back to that at 9:30, and I'll go ahead now and start with our Economic Development Committee, Commissioner Salter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 items. This past Monday, Mr. Jim Heiser, President and CEO of the Pensacola Chamber of Commerce, came over to make a presentation to this board regarding the strategic plan that the 2 counties had been working on. After his presentation, he asked us to endorse the plan. After further conversation with Mr. Walker and Shannon Ogletree, I think it's premature for us to endorse the plan because there's a lot of issues in there that we need to go through, especially several parts on restore funding and kinds of projects that we might be looking at. So instead of endorsement, what I'd recommend today is to recommend acknowledgement of the Pensacola Area Chamber of Commerce strategic plan as presented by Jim Heiser, President and CEO, with the understanding we'll continue to review that plan. And I would do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number 2, recommend reappointment of Robin Punko and Robert Ephraim to the Workforce Escarosa Incorporated Board of Directors. Here again, that's reappointment, so I would move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Administrative Committee, item number 1 is recommend waiver of noise ordinance requirements for Night Train Tavern, 8121 US 90 East, Milton, for outdoor band until 12 a.m. Saturday, June 8th, 2013. And again, for the record, this is a fundraiser for one of our fallen American soldiers. And I move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 2 is recommend acceptance of the title to a 14-foot dual-axle utility trailer for the Blackwater Soil and Water Conservation District for use as an environmental education display. I move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 3, recommend construction agreement with CSX Transportation Incorporated in the amount of $228,150 for installation of pedestrian gates at Henry Street, an allocation of $17,338 for completion of Henry Street sidewalk project based on comparison shopping. I do so without objection. I do have a comment that I'd like to add to that. One of our citizens this morning inquired to me about this, and Avis, correct me if I'm wrong. All of the crossings in any county, the federal government recognizes railroad crossings as our roads are encroaching on the railroad right-of-way, not the other way around. We simply get the bill. The railroad designs the project, contracts the project, executes the project, and sends the county or the municipality the bill. So, and also noted, Avis, I'd like for you to take a look at DeLisa Road Crossing and Baghdad Road Crossing, because I think they've been recently redone, but they're already deteriorating pretty bad. So if that contractor has a warranty, we need to get on them about that. So appreciate that citizen bringing that to my attention. Item number 4, recommend change order number 3 to the contract with Aero Training and Rental Incorporated, adding 39 days to Baghdad CDBG sewer extension project as recommended by the project engineer. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 5 is recommend Florida Division of Emergency Management grant agreement for Ramblewood Drive Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMPG, drainage improvement projects. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Mr. Chairman, if we could also have that to include in the memo that was provided in the backup by Ms. Harris, as we restart this grant, it will require an additional $20,725 for the Adkins for their post-design work as the consulting engineer, and $12,000 with Pegasus Engineering for the admin on it. We'll move I believe it's $149,085 from the electric franchise fee for drainage to do this project. And it was re-engineered. We paid a little more for the property than was in the original application. So this will just true us up. And Ms. Harris did remind me that there's kind of a whole tail that goes along with as we reinstitute this grant. So.
All right. Any board members, comments, concerns? Commissioner Lyncher?
Just want to point out that this is I think a very much needed project. We have some people down in the south end of the county that are looking forward to this. Good work by Sheila on getting this grant package ready again, and looking forward to being able to start improving the area down there.
Great. Okay, thank you, Commissioner, and I'll move that without objection, and hearing none, it passes, noting the caveats that the county administrator have added to that on cost. Item number 6 is recommend authorization for City of Milton and Rebuild Northwest Florida, Inc. to submit applications for hazard mitigation grant programs, HMGP, allocation for Hurricane Isaac. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 7 is recommend memorandum of understanding with the University of West Florida. Do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 8 is recommend proposal from Thompson Consulting Services, LLC for disaster, debris, and support services. Do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 9 is recommend proposal from Tidal Basin Governmental Consulting for disaster recovery administrative services. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 10 is recommend disaster food service agreement with school district for meals during emergency operations. Move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 11 is recommend easement for electrical services with Gulf Power for central landfill, and do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 12 is resolution transferring the Sundial Utilities Incorporated sewer franchise area to the City of Milton. Do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 13 is recommend staff develop contract with Atkins North America, Inc. for Restore Act consulting services for board approval. Move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 14 is recommend designation of 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on segment of Navarre Beach Causeway through the conclusion of the black skimmer nesting season as recommended by Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. I do so without objection. Hearing none. Passes.
Commissioners, if we could include that, let's just say all nesting birds, because we
Okay.
do have another species that may overlap.
All right. We'll
Thank
do
you.
so. Thank you, Mr. Blaylock. And move that with the addition. At this time, we'll move back to our public hearing, and public hearing is a vacation of the rear 25-foot setback of Lot 1, Block H of the Woodlawn Heights subdivision as requested by Julio Banzangani. If there's any comments or questions about this, anybody in objection to this vacation?
And I don't believe
Any
that
comments?
we did not receive any written or comments on the vacation.
Any discussion from board members?
I don't know if I need to speak, I'm representing Mr. Bonzani on the variance.
Only, hang on just a second. Okay, Avis, Public Works, have any concern on this?
We were not involved with this one because it was just a setback.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, I'll open it to public hearing. Is there any objections to the vacation of this or change to this 25-foot setback? This time, seeing none, I'll close public hearing and I'll move this without objection. Hearing none, it passes. All right, we'll go back to the regular administrative committee. On item number 15 is recommended scheduling public hearing on proposed ordinance establishing the Windward Cove Court Street Lighting Municipal Service Benefit Unit, MSBU project. Boy, say that 5 times fast. That schedule, county attorney will get that scheduled and properly advertised, and I move that recommendation without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 16 is a list of the meetings. Unless otherwise noted, the meetings below will be held in this room. The meetings are all listed for you with times, locations, and dates on both on our internet site and on hard copy. So review those for the particular meetings you may be interested in. I would like at this time to ask that this evening at 6 o'clock at our Planning and Zoning meeting, I'll ask that my Vice Chairman run that meeting this morning in my absence. Commissioner Melvin, if you plan to be here?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the board excusing me from tonight's meeting. Okay, we'll go now to the engineer's report. Item number 1 is recommend preliminary plat for Heritage Oaks, a 40-lot subdivision located in Working District 5. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 2, recommend paved road and drainage maintenance for Tallwood Court, improved through the Tallwood Court Road paving MSBU and located in Working District 5. Tallwood Court is 162 linear feet. Public Works is accepting this. Any comments from the board? If not, I move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. At this time, we'll go to Public Service Committee. Commissioner Lyncher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1, recommend acceptance of $1,500 for short sale in lieu of foreclosure for HHRP Home Purchase Assistance Loan for the property located at 5362 Ticonderoga Street. I'll move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2, recommend subordination of mortgage for SHIP loan on property located at 6409 Linwood Circle, consistent with board policy. I'll move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3, recommend subordination of mortgage for SHIP loan on property located at 5456 Pine Ridge Drive, consistent with board policy. I'll move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 4, recommend staff initiate amendments to comprehensive plan related to 2011 legislative changes and making it more locally focused. I will move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5, I'm going to abstain from, for the reasons stated Monday, and I will ask Commissioner Williamson to take that issue.
Item 5 is recommend variance to floodplain management ordinance for structure located at 7402 Mulberry Lane in Navarre. And I move approval without objection, noting that Commissioner Lyncher abstains.
I'll move that without objection, and without the objection, it passes with Commissioner Lyncher abstaining.
And I'll turn it back to Commissioner Lyncher for item 6.
Thank you. Item 6 is an update on our hurricane preparedness exercise that we held yesterday. I'm going to ask Mr. Gomillion to take that item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that. We just want to take a second to say that we had a very successful exercise yesterday, very important exercise. It was very well attended and very attentive for those that attended. I want to thank Cheryl Bracewell and her staff for a well-organized meeting and plan. The county has a very well-prepared, comprehensive emergency management plan. Of course, hurricanes are one piece of that pie that we're all very interested in, and I think very much reminded of the weather dangers that from this recent Oklahoma City tragedy that's ongoing. But our staff did a great job in organizing, and more so, or as important, is their efforts to keep our partners, our disaster partners, energized and active in our plan. The plan is only as good as those that carry out the plan, and we have got a very good group of engaged volunteers and members of other departments outside of emergency management that are involved in this exercise and in our activations. I'm just very impressed with their attentiveness and participation yesterday, and I just want to thank those volunteers and other departments that participated to make that a success and to give us a level of confidence going into hurricane season that we would be well prepared to respond in the event of an emergency. And so I just want to take the opportunity to thank them for that.
Thank you, Tony, and hopefully that exercise will ward off any storms this summer. That concludes public services, Mr. Chairman.
Richard, Mike. I understand, Tony, there was another caveat added to this training yesterday with the was it unexpected or unplanned, or was it kind of supposed to be a surprise? Fill us in on that a little bit. Part.
The active shooter
yes.
training? Yeah. Well, it would be unexpected for some. There were a few people that knew about it, but it certainly was a very eye-opening experience and certainly, again, very timely experience relative to just an awareness about the dangers, the threats, reminding everyone of what might be potential targets and opportunities that those that would wish to disrupt government might choose the timing in a vulnerable time to try to disrupt. And so, but that also was, haven't heard all the results back from that hot wash on that yet, but we'll critique that and see where we are relative to any kind of additional thoughts or plans for recommendations for our workers.
Okay. Well, Tony, Commissioner Lynchard, thank you for that report. Bringing us up to date. Commissioner Salter.
I have a question. Someone asked me the other day about the county's notification programs on how do we notify citizens when disaster, and of course they were concentrating on the Oklahoma tornadoes. Do we have any type of horn sounding systems, or do we depend on telephones? And
we do not have any kind of alert systems in our county that would be consistent with what you're describing. Certainly in those tornado-prone, those areas that are much more tornado-prone as the Midwest and even within north central Alabama, there are some sirens systems, but we do not. Ours would be more of the, and Joy could probably elaborate even further, but ours would be more of the, we do offer systems where people can sign up to get messages, and those would probably, for those that are very concerned about that probably would be a very good thing to sign up, and they can go on our web and find information relative to that. Certainly we have a very active PIO and system that would provide to the press and other means of warnings for weather or other tragedies.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's certainly between the world's constantly changing, and we got to keep up to it, provide the best for our citizens. So. All right, this time we'll move to Public Works Committee. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two items today. The first item is recommend acceptance of right-of-way deed and paved road and drainage maintenance for Champions Green Drive from the Champions Green 3 Homeowners Association. and I move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Last item is recommend extension of contract with Panhandle Grading and Paving Incorporated for asphalt services for 1 year at current rates, and I move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jim. At this time, we'll move to Budget and Financial Committee. Commissioner Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 items this morning. Item number 1 is recommend budget amendment 2013-126 in the amount of $75,292, which will recognize the Doris Losberg Driver Education Safety Act revenue for fiscal year 2012 and 2013 and distribute those to the school board for driver's education program. I recommend approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 2 is budget amendment 2013-127 in the amount of $120,000, which will be for resurfacing Langley Street, and this will come from franchise fees for road and drainage as approved at the May 9th, 2013 meeting, and I move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 3 is recommend budget amendment 2013-128 in the amount of $15,000 for the purpose of purchasing GIS application for economic development in partnership with Florida Power and Light statewide discount program as approved at the May 9th, 2013 Board of County Commission meeting. I recommend approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 4 is recommend county expenditures check register. I've reviewed the check register and had a couple of questions resolved and signed it, put it on your desk for your signature. Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval without objection.
I noted your questions on that, and
Yes, sir. You got them both. One of them was a normal fuel bill, and the other one was tuition for two disaster preparedness trainees.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you very much, Jim. We appreciate that. And this time we'll move. Is there any additional information from
That
county?
concludes my report.
I'm sorry. All right. Any additional from staff? Okay. At this time, I'll open it to the public forum. Nobody in the public? Sir. All right. Mr. Green, I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Louis Green, 6624 Tidewater Drive, Navarre, Community Emergency Response Team, Chairman of the Board. Currently, I get the email notifications from the county about alerts, but I also get FEMA pages on my cell phone. Unfortunately, the FEMA pages come 4 or 5 days after the event, which is interesting. But I would suggest that we contact the IT department and our telephone department to find out if they can send text messages to citizens' cell phones, because the cell phone network is pretty good. It could be a technology challenge because not every cell phone company provides the technology for you to send cell phones messages ubiquitously. So you have to have somebody investigate that. And just as a closing comment, in my days at AT&T, when I'm retired, back in the 70s, we were doing that with our employees to our phone pages. When we had an outage of any kind, the central office would send us all a message wherever we were, and we would get that. So the technology is there. It's been there for 30 years. It's just a matter of getting somebody to dig into it and implement it. Because if we can provide that to the residents, because not everyone's sitting in front of a computer to get the message, the email message, but everybody, 99% of the people have cell phones. They either have smartphones or dumb phones. Even the dumb cell phones can take a text message. I would just suggest that be investigated. And the IT department and whoever's handling the telephone system and 911 system need to collaborate to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Good suggestion. Appreciate suggestions from all the folks in Santa Rosa County. We've got a lot of great retirees here that add a lot to our community, and we appreciate that. At this time, if there's no other comments or questions, I just would like to remind...
Mr. Chairman, I do think that we, currently we do and it just comes on mine, so I'm not sure how it works, but Ms. Zabolka can kind of get with you on how you can get those on your cell phone. Okay. And they don't come 5 days late. You'll get them, and you'll get them early and often.
Very much so. We get them on ours, so, yeah. All right, anything else? Just remind everybody to have a great and safe Memorial Day. Remember our fallen soldiers, and keep the folks in Oklahoma in our prayers as they get over that tragedy, because we all know what this kind of devastation does on a first-hand basis, so keep them in your prayers. And at this time, it is 9:44, and we're adjourned.